Yeah. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. There was, I think, one question that somebody had messaged me.
It was regarding consciousness.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, yes. See, it's very simple. Understand it like this, that you can never have a subject-object relationship with the consciousness. Because consciousness is yourself, I the subject. The content of the subject is consciousness. Therefore, you are never going to have a subject-object relationship. Yeah. And to revise what we have said about Akhanda Akara Vritti, I said two operations necessary for you to see any object. First, mind has to take the form of the object. When the mind takes the form of the object, the remoteness between the object and you, in terms of time, space, ignorance, is gone. Predominantly ignorance. That ignorance that is gone. Then you have to establish a relationship with this object, of subject and object. That is done by the second operation of the mind called Phala Vyapti. So the Phala Vyapti is actually the one that says, this is a pen. Mind takes the object of the pen, form of the object. What you see is the vritti inside, not the object outside. So that objectification, the thought of objectification is called a Phala Vyapti. So vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti together form one cognitive thought. Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti together form a single cognitive thought. Now, with respect to the pen, it is easy. With respect to the eye, the first operation, Vritti Vyapti, is necessary because even though there is no remoteness in terms of time and space between me and the Atma, there is remoteness in terms of ignorance. That ignorance is gone with the Vritti Vyapti. Then there is no need to establish a relationship with the Atma because I already know I am. I already know I am. Therefore, Phala Vyapti is not necessary, nor is it possible. So, this type of thought of recognition, the only thought of recognition here is there of its class, of its kind, is called Akhanda Akara Vritti. A Vritti whose shape is Akhandam, not broken up by subject object. Because the recognition is I am the Atma.
Swamiji?
Yeah, Ishalini.
Yeah. So it is still not clear. I mean, is Phala Vyapti, when we say that this is a pen, say for example, is that also not a thought? I mean, yes, I understand there is a recognition, but I am still not able to understand the difference between the Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti.
See, both is one thought.
Yeah.
But there are two sides of the thought operating. The thought operates in a twofold manner. First, taking the form of the object, then subject-object relationship being established. So,
About the understanding which is happening.
yeah. So I say, this is a pen. When I say this is a pen, it is Phala Vyapti. Vritti Vyapti has already happened. Yeah, before that. Yeah. Yeah. And with respect to the Atma, the second operation cannot happen, need not happen. Okay.
Swamiji, I wanted to ask you that only yesterday.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when I'm doing the Vritti Vyapti, the first
Vritti Vyapti, yes.
So what happens is the time space and the third one is fog.
Ignorance,
So
ignorance.
time, space,
Yeah.
ignorance. Okay, so anyways, I don't know what is how the Atma looks. So how do I actually objectify it in my mind?
You don't
That is
objectify. Any attempt at objectifying the Atma will lead to a concept, will not lead to understanding.
So there is just two things that I'm removing. That is the time.
So the
and
two
space.
things will not happen. The second one will not happen.
Because the Atma is within me.
Yeah.
There is no difference between me and Atma.
Exactly.
For what I understand. So there is no the ignorance part. How do I take care of that? That was
So
thing I was
the teaching will create the vritti vyapti in your mind.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
And the phala vyapti is not going to happen.
Yeah. Phala vyapti is not going to happen, nor is it necessary.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Don't worry, doubts will come up with respect to this. Because when you try to understand this, there will be doubts. That is part of the game. Okay. All right, then going ahead. All right, how does the teaching work? How does the whole thing work? So that he is going into the process of understanding, of cognizing, is going into this. Nishede krite neti neti iti vakyaihi samadhisthitânām yad bhati purnam avastatra atitam advaitam ekam parabrahma nityam tadevahamasmi. Nishede krite neti neti iti vakyaihi. By a process of negation. Neti neti iti. Neti with respect to myself. Whatever I have taken myself to be. To see myself as independent of that. See, the Upanishad mentions neti neti. But the Upanishad also talks about satyam and mithya. Therefore, you have to understand two things here. When you are saying, I am not the body, which is a fact, of course, you have to understand that the body is dependent on you, you are independent of the body. Normally, we take it the other way around. I am dependent on the body. Because we have not gained a mastery over the body. The only reason is that. That's why I say yoga is a preparation. You know, when it came to Vedanta teaching, I came without much of cultural and social background. I was typical convent educated, modern, someone who is wanting to sail around the world. Yeah, typical guy. Typical Mumbaikar. Yeah. So, dating, this, that, etc. And we are talking about 60s and 70s, okay? Yeah, that's one of those typical guys. But my preparation was in terms of mastery over body and mind. That was there. Because there's something to be done. And that can be done in 100 different ways. And sense of Ishvara was there, very high. Yeah. The understanding of Ishvara, even as a kid. When people used to ask me, what do you like to worship, Rama, Krishna, what? Which temple would you like to go when we go to Kerala? Uncles and aunties in their stupidity will ask this. Which temple would you like to go? As a kid likes to go to a temple. He likes the prasad. I mean, at 8-year-old, 10-year-old, you like to say, I like to go to this temple. Do you really expect that? Unless there is a lot of Purva Janma samskaras, you don't have that. Huh? Yeah. So I say any temple is fine. We'll go wherever. So who is your God? Rama, Krishna, Shiva? I said, my God is Rama, is Krishna, is Shiva, is everything. That understanding was there somewhere from a previous lifetime. That much was there. Samskara was there. Understanding came as a samskara. So these two things were there. That's all I had. And that's all that was necessary anyway. So neti, it was easy to understand. Yeah, I'm not the body. I can make the body do what I want it to do. No problems. I'm independent. When I tell the body shut up, it will shut up. Yeah. Only one one thing I had to work on as far as the body was concerned. You know what? I came from a martial art culture, no? Physical culture. So denying the body food was not something considered healthy. So my first day of fasting was something. What is easy for most religious people, fasting the first day was a little bit dicey. Yeah. Consciously fasting. As part of my martial training, I have gone without food and water and things like that. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. What food? No food. You survive in the wild. So, those type of things are not an issue. But consciously fasting when food is available, something I had to work on. All of us have something to work on when we come to Vedanta, okay? Yeah. I remember I had my breakfast, I decided to skip lunch and have something at tea time. That's all I decided. Small doses, take it in small doses. And between lunch and tea, all I was thinking was is, when can I eat something? When can I said, this is bad. I'm meditating on food. Not healthy. Not healthy. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that apart. Therefore, that independence of the I from the body, important too, from the mind, from your pranas, from your energy systems, because all this you can manipulate. All this you can manage and handle. So you are independent of all of them. That's why yoga is a good preparation. Why? Even though you tie your body up in knots, it's easier than practicing martial arts. You're not getting punched in the stomach, no? So that way it is easier. That way it's easier. So, good preparation to gain the mastery of your body, mind, etc. Therefore, nishede krite neti neti iti vakye. All the ideas you have taken yourself, the roles that you judge yourself with, what gave you your health, sense of self-esteem, also gives you a sense of identity. That identity is only functional, not real. Functional, okay. One has to learn to drop that identity when necessary. Yeah. Yeah. Therefore, nishede krite, from me, and I confront a world from the world also. So the whole world is included into Ishvara. The whole world is nothing but a manifestation of Ishvara. Therefore, you take Ishvara as the paradigm to include everything into it. Therefore, from there also everything is negated. Neti, neti. That's why neti is repeated twice. Neti means na iti, not this. One for yourself, one for Ishvara. Then what remains? Samadhi sthitanam yad bhati purvam. When you negate everything from yourself and Ishvara, what is there? You are in Samadhi, he says. What do you mean by Samadhi? I have not done my breathing and things like that. Okay. Yeah. That's a very good question that I have received just now. How do we drop the identity? Especially if you are a young parent with young kids. Because the parent identity is very strong. There are certain identities that is very strong like that. One is parent. Other is doctor. Because wherever you go, people won't allow you to forget that fact you are a doctor. Even if you want to forget. You go to a party and introduce yourself as Dr. So-and-so, immediately somebody will say, Doctor, I am having this bad backache. You want to drop it, you are not allowed to drop it. Third is roles in the army, air force, etc. Why? Because you are willing to put your life on the line. These roles you are putting your life on the line. So again, strong identity. So these three roles I have noticed. I generally joke, mother, doctor, and army officer, strong identities. Again, you have to start thinking on these lines. First, okay, I am not Jagat Mata. Because some people I had a student like this. She is no more. Very nice, very sweet lady, very nice lady. Okay. She would mother everyone. And on top of it, she was a Gujarati lady. Therefore, this question of agraha was there, Agraha karne ka. Meaning, even if they say, no, I am full, I have eaten enough. No, you must have something more. She would get homemade tilka laddus to the camp, camp that we used to have offline, and insist that I eat at least 2 of them at every meal. So I used to call her Jagan Mata, and she would do that with everyone. every one of the person in the camp. The older people here know whom I am referring to. Yeah. So I used to call it, no, drop that. You are mother figure only to your kids, not to anyone else. And please don't get into the habit of mothering your husband. Worst thing. It can kill romance immediately. So start there by restricting the mother role or the father role to just my kids. Number 1. Number 2, make your parenting age appropriate. What the child required at 6 months is not what the child requires at 6 years. Definitely not what he requires at 16. This is summed up in a very simple folk saying, Subhashitani. Okay. First 6 years of his life. Okay. Nurture the child as though the child is God himself, See the divinity in that child. Because unconscious, etc. is being formed. Not to make him a brat, no. But see the divinity in the child and nurture that and bring it out. From 6 to 16, Tadaye Dasavat. Discipline the child. Structure the child. Make the child conscious of what it takes to become successful. What it takes to compete. What it takes to collaborate. Both. What it takes to perform. Praise the child when it is appropriate, not for anything and everything. Due praise should be given. Before that, as a baby, the child takes a step and you are clapping around, Child is standing and dancing around, you are clapping. That's different because the child requires that nurturance. But by the time it's 6, so what happens is you have changed. You have learned to let go of certain things. Because structure means you have to hold back and get the child to do. After the child is 16, putra tu mitravat is like a friend. That means what? In the very process of parenting, you freed yourself from that role. Effective parenting means you have in a way freed yourself from the role. What if my child is not yet 16? Only 4-year-old, then what? Then you recognize, right now the child requires me as a parent. That's it. I'm playing a role. I'm not playing the role with my husband. Thank God. Gadbad ho jayega. Yeah. But I've seen women doing that. It's a big problem. Big problem. Big issue. And many men also look for that mother figure. Narayana, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? So, in this process, you are cutting down that role. You are dropping that role when not necessary. Have a guilt-free evening with your friends. Let somebody else take care of your kids. And don't keep looking at the watch every time. Hey, I have to be back. What will be my child doing now? Let me call and see. Where is he? What is he doing? No, resist that temptation. Resist that. In fact, I have told people, take a 3-day holiday and come back and see how much you are missed. They take the 3-day holiday and come back. And they get upset after that. Right? Swamiji, they didn't miss me only. They're very happy. But nothing went right. They had a break from you, so they enjoyed their holiday. That's all they did. They had pizza every night. That's not healthy. They were on a holiday, that's all. Nothing else. That's all, nothing else. Yeah. You were on a holiday from them, they were on a holiday from you, that's all. That's all. It's okay, it's fine. So you learn to drop the roles like that, In the process, you learn to drop roles. Neti, neti, neti. And you have to have that ability to see yourself. You are independent from every role that you are playing. The role is dependent on you. You are independent of the role. You may have to still play the role. That's fine. You have to play the role. No? You got young kids. You have to play the role. You are working somewhere. You have to play that role. How can you say I can't play? I don't play the role. You can say that only when you are taking sannyasa. Even then, some roles will be there. Puja Swamiji, he was in Coimbatore, his mother is in Kumbakonam. Manchakudi actually, off Kumbakonam. And he heard she was very ill and bedridden and all. He drove all the way down to see her before she went off. You can't drop these things. You can drop at the same time you perform, both ways. Both ways, it happens. Yeah. You are not tied down by that role. You are not dependent on that role. You are independent of the role. Though you play the role. Yeah. So that is the whole thing. All that identification. You learn to drop. You put it as a dress. Exactly like I see in many of us. You are working from home. You are a corporate executive. You are working from home. Working from home, you can be dressed anywhere. Now you are on the laptop only. Unless there is a meeting or something. But I see many people wanting to be kept properly dressed as though they are going to work outside and then sit on the laptop. Why? Swamiji, that mindset comes in, I get into that mindset of working. Correct? It's true. Treat your role like that. It's like wearing a dress. Each role is wearing a dress. Wearing a persona. Wearing a persona. You are the one that fills up every role. You are independent of every role. You are a simple person. Then even the personhood is negated. Why? You are nothing but pure, you are an awareful being. And then you are nothing but awareness itself, consciousness itself. Therefore, samadhi sthitanam yad bhati purnam. When you are in a state of samadhi, he says, Yeah. What do you mean samadhi sthitana? Samadhiyate yasmin manaha. In that where the mind is resolved is called samadhi. So samadhi becomes another name for the Atma. Why? Where is your mind resolved? If you don't know, your mind is resolved into ignorance as in deep sleep. If you know, your mind is resolved into the consciousness. Not that the wise person doesn't sleep, no. Mula Jnanam continues, but that apart, your mind is resolved. The resolving point of the mind is called samadhi. That's the Atma. Okay? Samadhi sthitana. Therefore, Atma sthitana. Atma jnane sthitana. When you are rooted in this knowledge, yada bhati purnam. That time what? You understand the full nature of that consciousness as limitlessness itself. Yad bhati. That fills up your mind. This knowledge fills up your mind. And you understand it completely. It can also imply that what you have understood, you are owning up by practice of samadhi. Practice of samadhi is practice of meditation. Okay. Yeah. When that meditation becomes successful, say, you are rooted in that silence awareness, you call it samadhi. When you are trying to get into it, you call it meditation. Itna hi farak hai. Itna hi farak hai. So you practice meditation, samadhi happens. Okay. Yeah, you practice meditation, samadhi happens. Okay. Therefore, samadhi sthitanam yad bhati purnam. And what is that? Avasthatraya atitam. That is independent. See, when you use words as atitam, etc., you think it is beyond. That beyond is for you to appreciate the fact that your consciousness independent of the three states of experience. Therefore, avasthatraya atitam, that which is beyond the three states of experience. But understand, it is in and through the three states of experience as well. If you don't understand it as in and through the three states, you will be looking for a fourth experience of something, Some sort of samadhi experience you will be looking for. And that can put you on a trip all your life. All your life you can be on that trip, I'm telling you. All your life. Trying to get that experience. Is the experience necessary? No. Can it help? Of course, anything can help. Including my toothbrush, okay? Anything can help, including my toothbrush. I didn't say that. Harrison Ford of the Beatles, after meeting Mahesh Yogi, they were asked how good is TM. He said that. Yeah, it's useful, but my toothbrush is also useful. So similarly, is it necessary? No. Unless you are a yogi and want to go through that experience to say, yes, I have gained that as well. Okay, fine. That's easy. You just have to master your mind a bit. You have to learn how to stop thinking consciously. That's all. What a आसान बात है. Really, it's not all that difficult. Yeah. A little practice and you'll get it. It's a skill that you developed. It's a knack that you develop. It happens. Okay. Yeah. Therefore, that practice of contemplation to own up the truth, that is the important thing. Okay. Therefore, avasthatrayam atitam advaitam ekam. That is one advaitam, he says. One non-dual. Non-dual because it cannot be broken up. When you say one is either a part of a set or itself can be made into subsets. No? One can be divided. Yeah. One can become half, 1/4, etc. Therefore, one becomes many. Advaitam, it cannot be divided because it's pure consciousness, limitlessness. Therefore, the one really speaking is the infinite being, limitlessless being. Advaitam ekam. Parabrahma nityam tadevaham asmi. That Parabrahma nityam is myself. That's why another name for the practice of meditation is called jnana abhyasaha. Abhyasa means to repeat here, not practice. Repetition. What do you mean by practice? I am practicing, let us say, singing. What do you mean? You are repeatedly singing something, no? Until you get it perfectly. You are repeating it. Any skill is like that. It grows only with repetition, not with understanding. A skill doesn't develop by understanding. A skill develops by repetition. So this skill of being with yourself also develops with repetition. That's why in Kerala, you'll introduce somebody. Oh, meet Keshava Achan. Keshavan is his name, Achan is his surname. Acha, what does he do? He's an abhyasi. Oh, okay. Abhyasi means what? Someone who repeats something. But it's understood. Everyone in Kerala understands when you say he's an Abhyasi. Abhyasi meaning he's a kalari expert. Why? Because the practice of any martial arts involves repetition. How much? 1,000 times a day? Every practice session you repeat something 1,000 times. Then you move on to the next one another 1,000 times. Yeah. But how many punches and kicks can you repeat 1,000 times? I don't care about a person who has practiced 1,000 punches. I care about that guy, one guy who has practiced just 2-3 punches 1,000 times. That guy is dangerous. That guy is dangerous. Every day he practices, okay, one punch, one block, one chop. Yeah. But the same thing he has done 1,000 times. Then when that chop comes, now it's difficult to block that. He'll penetrate your defense. Abhyasi. Therefore, jnana abhyasa. How often do you have to do it? A martial arts session takes a couple of hours 3 times a week or something. That is true. If you are saying you are independent of the body, you can do whatever it takes to push your body. Yeah. So since a martial arts session takes a couple of hours 3 times a week, how often should you meditate? You decide. How much you can take. Okay, be careful here. How much you can take. Okay. Everyone cannot take a couple of practice. 3 days a week, 2 hours, couple of hours. Everyone cannot take that. Some people can take more, some people have to start less. Similarly with meditation, every day the regularity is more important and the depth of the meditation is more important. Yeah. So, but regularity. Therefore, to own up that knowledge. Remember, you are not creating a new experience. It's important to understand this. Because there are so many modern teachers available who focus on all the wrong things. They are good in what they are doing. Leave moksha alone. Everything else you are good in. Yeah. For other things, I'll respect you. Moksha, not your job. But you try to equate that with moksha, that's where the process is. Yeah. How do I say I'm independent of the mind? Same way. You say you're independent of the mind, but the same way you said you're independent of the body. Push your mind. Change your emotions about certain things. Change your thinking. Change your ideas. Start liking things that you didn't like before. Change your thinking to change your emotion. I can't stand Karela. I don't like Karela. See all the benefits of eating Karela. Change your thinking about Karela. And then start eating it. You know, my teacher, Puja Swamiji, used to love Karela. And you know how his love for Karela started? He was in this city, a traditional South Indian city, where he's always called, when he goes for a talk series 7 days, minimum lunch and dinner becomes bhikshas. He's called to somebody's house. Okay. And he used to go. So in the first place he went there, they served him a lot of things including Karela. Bitter gourd. Because people wonder what Karela is. Bitter gourd is Karela. Okay. Now he doesn't like bitter gourd. So he decided to eat it first. Well, finish off the unpleasant things first, then your plate is full of all pleasant things only. So he ate it and he was eating the other things. When the lady noticed, hey, Karela is finished off, second serving. So then he said, no more second servings. Let me finish what is there. Because for them he is coming once a year or something like that, it's a feast. Yeah. So, finish. So the next day he was going somewhere else and the lady called up this lady. Says, what does Swamiji like? Oh, he ate everything, but Karela he took a second helping. Bitter gourd he took a second helping. So that lady also made bitter gourd. So every house he went, Karela was made. He's saying by the end of the week I started liking it. Now you know what we sadhus have to put up. Okay. Yeah. The idea is you deal with your mind the same way as you dealt with your body. Push your likes and dislikes a bit. Do things that you don't like. Stop doing certain things that you like. Just for a discipline part. Change your emotions. Change your thinking. Challenge your own thinking. Learn to think from the different standpoints. Yeah. Take an opposite viewpoint and have a look at it. You have gone on one line of thinking. Now come on, stop that line, think from the opposite end. Chalo, try it. Yeah. So when you play with your thinking, play with your emotion, you know, hey, I'm independent. Then that neti, etc. is easy and you come to the understanding of Vedanta very much better. Yeah. You know, I had a rebellious streak in me. So we had this youth group going on in Chinmaya Mission when I was part of that, where they would try to explain Ramayana in its mystical meaning, philosophical meaning of Ramayana, how Rama is the Atma, this, that. So I said, mischief, I said, let me try the other way around. Let me see how much these people have really understood the whole thing. So I gave a Purva-paksha. Rama is a Jiva. Sita is a Paramatma, instead of being the other way around. Why? Because when Rama lost Sita, he was behaving like a samsari only. Consciousness does not behave like samsari. Sita was calm, peaceful in Ashoka Vanaha, in the forest which is free from grief. Jambavan was a teacher for Hanuman. So when Jambavan taught Hanuman, Akhandakara Vritti became big. Symbolic of that. ऐसा पूरा रामायण को उल्टा कर दिया. Whole Ramayana, I turned it around on its head. I said, here, this is it. And believe me, all those experts in Ramayana didn't know how to answer that. Because they all forgot one fundamental point. It is the Lord Himself that appears as the Jiva. If you get that point, everything you have got. Otherwise, everything is a mess. Everything is a mess. Yeah. This was long before I joined the ashram and everything. Okay? This was my rebellious streak coming up in me. And so, okay, these characters consider themselves expert. Let me see how they answer my Purva-paksha, my argument against it. But it was good discipline for me. And then someone went and told Puja Swamiji, you know, Ram Mohan presented this Purva-paksha. So he called me. Very good, I heard it. It's excellent. Now you answer it yourself. That will be your discipline. I said, okay, sir, I'll do it. So the next week I went to him and told him this. He said, excellent, good, you're on right track. That is how you change your thinking. You learn to think from opposite standpoint, different standpoints. Some 40 years ago, a book was written called Lateral Thinking. Very boringly written, but a good book. Boring, the book was boring. He could have been more creative about writing that. His later books are better. Okay? Edward de Bono. Read that, it is a good book to develop your thinking from various angles. And in that, what we take from that is the fact that you can change your thinking, you are therefore independent of your thinking. I am sure he visited Chennai also. What makes you say that? Because he has written a book, Beyond Yes and No. And what is beyond yes and no? Po, beyond yes and no. Why? He came to Chennai And there's, he asked someone, is it like this or is it like that? And the guy told him, Poya. Okay, for those who don't understand Tamil, Poya means, hey, get lost here. It is not like this or like that. Go here. So he said, Po, beyond yes and no. I'm joking, okay? Don't quote me. That is what has happened. Because some people will say, Swami, you said it must be true. No, I also joke. All right. So this is how Neti works. You have to make it pragmatic enough, practical enough to bring it into your life. Only then Neti will work. Okay? Yeah. Therefore, then what? Tadeva Brahmahamevam asmi. All right. Then I am that Brahman. That will be clear. When Neti is clear, this will be clear. Okay. Then Yad Ananda Leshehi Samana Vishwam Yad Abhati Sattve Tad Abhati Sarvam Yadalokena Rupam Nanyasta Parabrahma Nityam Tadevahamasmi. Okay. Yat Ananda Leshai. Thoda of that Ananda. Samajhi, how can you have little bit Ananda if it is infinite? An expression as though. As though. Okay. Some Anandi Vishwam. The whole Vishwam becomes Ananda. Because what is this thing that you call joy, joyfulness, etc.? When that Ananda that you are manifests in that mind, you are calling it joyfulness, etc. Yeah. Isn't that what happens in any moment of joy? Somebody cracks a PJ, poor joke. You start laughing. You don't want to laugh because it's a PJ. And you are like, you want proper jokes. But you can't help smiling away. Why? A joke is like that. It arrests your mind. It arrests your logical thinking. And when your logical thinking is arrested, the Ananda that you are surfaces. Or you are walking on the road. Like after a class or something, I say, hey, I've been sitting down and taking class. Let me go for a walk. And you walk. And suddenly between two buildings, you see the full moon. Mind is arrested. The Ananda that you are manifests itself. You are driving to work, full of all thoughts, man, I have to do this, I have to do that. And in the neighboring car, there is a cute little baby playing and making faces. And you start smiling away. What happens? Your worried mind arrested Ananda that you are manifests itself. So in all this manifestation, all that you are there is Ananda. Therefore, whenever Ananda is manifest, any joy you get anywhere in the world is nothing but a manifestation of the Ananda that you are. Whether that Ananda comes from bhoga, enjoyment, whether Ananda comes from yoga, whether that Ananda comes from music. Okay. Bhogananda, Vishayananda, Sangeetananda, anything. It is nothing but Atmananda. It is nothing but the Atmananda itself. And that is what he is highlighting here. Okay? That all Ananda. Give me a minute to change my connection. Okay, there we are. Yesterday also this was giving some problems. Today also it is giving some, but it's okay, we'll manage. Okay. Therefore, any ananda that you get anywhere is nothing but the manifestation of the ananda that you are. Therefore, he says, by that small aspect of that ananda, the whole world becomes ananda, he says. Okay. Yad abhati sattve tad abhati sarvam. When that consciousness is manifest in sattve, in your sattva meaning in your mind, because the mind is predominantly sattvic, supposed to be. At least it is made from the sattvic aspect of all the tanmatras that you have seen in Drigdrishya Viveka. Yeah. Therefore, he says, when the consciousness is manifest in your mind, then what? Then everything else is manifest, he says. Meaning, you recognize everything else. When the consciousness is not manifest in your mind, you will recognize nothing. Therefore, everything shines in your awareness alone. There is no event without an observer in science. And if the observer is not conscious, there is no event anyway, because there is no observation. There is no observation itself. Yeah. That is why the Buddhists go as far to say that everything is in your mind. They overstate it. Okay, yeah. Therefore, yad bhati sattve tad abhati sarvam. Yada alokena rupam anyas samassam. Yad alokena. In the light of that awareness alone, everything exists. Because the consciousness is also existence. Remember, we have seen that before. Existence and consciousness cannot be two different things. To bring it back to your mind, if limitless existence is the truth behind this book, behind any object in the world, and I am limitless consciousness, there cannot be two limitlessness. If there are two limitlessness, each will limit the other. If there are two limitlessness, each will limit the other. Therefore, there can be only one limitless consciousness. What exists is consciousness. Therefore, in me, the consciousness is manifest because I have a mind. In this paper, the consciousness is not manifest because there is no mind there. This paper was also conscious once upon a time. Now the consciousness is there, but it is not manifest. Therefore, I can do what I want with this paper. Scribble on it, write on it, etc. There was a time when consciousness was also manifest in this paper. When this paper was a tree. When the paper was a tree, it is manifest. Therefore, manifestation depends upon your subtle body, your mind, etc. Otherwise, it is there, but not manifest. Exactly like how you are Ananda, but Ananda is not manifest. No? Unless you see something, someone cracks a joke or something like that, then Ananda also is manifest. Therefore, he says, Yad alokena, in the light of which Rupam Anyat Samastan. Everything shines in the light of consciousness alone. Everything is nothing but consciousness. Existence awareness is the reality behind the whole world. All names and forms resolve into existence consciousness. All identities, all beings resolve into that existence consciousness alone. The thing is, when an inert object, the focus is more on existence. In a living person, the focus is more on the consciousness. But a living person exists, no? Can you say living person doesn't exist? Therefore, existence consciousness. Satchit was he called in Sanskrit. Therefore, on that alone, everything is dependent. Everything depends upon that existence consciousness. Okay. And that Brahman is me. Okay. That means what? The world that you took as so vast that limits me is no more a limiting factor. is a limiting factor for the body. Yes. It's a limiting factor for the mind. Yes. Because you can't know everything about the world. It's not a limiting factor for you, consciousness. Why? It is a manifestation of existence, consciousness alone. But Swamiji, I didn't manifest it. Correct. You didn't. That's why our understanding of Ishvara comes into the picture. Ishvara is a consciousness manifests in the total mind. Your consciousness manifests in an individual mind. That's the only difference. Difference is in the mind, not in the consciousness. Okay. That's what he is clarifying in the next verse. Anantam vibhum sarvayonim niriham shivam sangahinam yad omkara gamyam nirakara mutya jalam mrityuhinam parabrahma nityam tadevahamasmi. Anantam, that which is limitless. Anantam vibhum, that which is of the nature of consciousness. Or vibhuti, sarvavayapi, that which is everywhere. Sarvayonim, the source of everything, the womb of everything, the source of everything. Niriham, but itself doesn't move, doesn't change. Why? How can limitlessness change? How can limitlessness move? Shivam Sangahinam is called Shivaha, Ishvaraha. Shiva is using for Ishvara. Okay, when the moment you say here Shiva, Narayana, etc., I understand. It's Ishvara. Shivam Sangahinam. Sangahinam. Not dependent on anything. Why? It is the source of everything. Everything is manifest from me. Everything is manifest from Ishvara. How can Ishvara be dependent on anything? Yeah. Remember, our understanding of Ishvara is not old man sitting down somewhere, okay? Lonely. Yeah. Ishvara is nothing but Ananda Rupaha. And he manifests as the whole world. Through Maya Shakti, manifests as the whole universe. Okay. Swamiji, but why is the creation there? Why did he create? He didn't create. How can you attribute a motive for someone who is limitlessness? That's our human personalization. We are personalizing God, which is okay, but that's where it's coming from. But still, why creation? From Ishvara's angle, there is no creation. From your angle also, there is no real creation. But until you understand that, I will give you an answer from your standpoint. Why? It's meant for you to grow. Until you understand there is no creation. Why? Because you have to grow, no? If I tell you there is no creation, if you understand there is no need for anything else, then let's go and have a cup of coffee, that's all. I use that expression so often. If I use that expression so often that people will think I am a coffee lover. I like, but only limited quantities, okay? Yeah, it's an expression, that's all. Okay? Now, if Brahman is, one question came up, if Brahman is limitless, why call it Param? Because there is an expression, there are 2-3 expressions used for Ishvara. One is Jagat Karanam Brahman. Brahman as Ishvara, who is the cause of the whole universe. Another expression is Saguna Brahman. So to make your standpoint clear that you are speaking of consciousness, not Ishvara, you are using the word Param Brahman. Otherwise the word Param is not necessary. Okay. Therefore Shivam Sangahinam, independent of everything. Yad Omkara Gamyam, that which is represented by Omkara. There cannot be a better name for Bhagavan, Ishvara, God other than Omkara. It is not even a Sanskrit name. I have spoken about it before more elaborately, but in a simple manner. If Ishvara is everything, Call him in any language, Ishvara, Allah, Jesus, Father in heaven, Jehovah, okay, Zeus, any language you call him is limited. Because any word is limited. Therefore, any word you give to Ishvara, including Shiva, Vishnu, all limited. All limited. So, Rishis were very, very intelligent people. They said all forms are Ishvara. All forms are nothing but words, represented by words. All words are nothing but sound. As far as a being is concerned, living being is concerned, all words are from the gullet to the lips. Therefore, from the gullet make a sound. Ah. Close, from the lips make a sound. Choose one word to represent whatever is in between. Oo. Or ah, oo, Say it fast, you will get Om. They'll coalesce together to form Om. They created a sound symbol for Ishvara, not even a word. Then what about the consciousness that you left out? The silence from where the Om comes and the silence into which it is resolved, that is representative of consciousness. That's why in the meditation in the morning I said that silence awareness is what you are. Complete. It is not Sanskrit, it's just sound. Yeah, Sanskrit knowing people created it because the Sanskrit is a language like that. What can I do? That's why it's called Sanskrit. Samskritam, that which is refined. That which is a refined language. Okay, it's a sophisticated language. Omkara Gamyam, that which is understood through Omkara. The whole Upanishad, there are Upanishads dealing with Omkara. Mandukya, some of us have seen the Mandukya. Other Upanishads also, which deals with this Omkara alone. Okay, Omkara Gamyam, Nirakaram, at the same time Nirakaram. Why? Because it's free of all forms. It is all forms, it is free of all forms. Nirakara Gamyam. Okay. Ati Ujjalam. Ati Ujjalam. It's extremely resplendent. What do you mean by resplendent? You know, the sun is resplendent, shining all over. Yeah, but the sun is resplendent high. The sun is so bright and beautiful because your eyes are bright and beautiful. If your eyes were not bright, there would be no bright sun. You don't have vision in your eyes. You will have a hot sun but not a bright sun. And your eyes are bright because the mind is backing it up. And the mind is bright, awareful, because I am awareness. Therefore, I am the source of all light in the world. If I am not awareness, the world will be nothing but darkness. Totally ignorant, isn't it? How will you see anything? There is nobody to see. Good question. Ishvara is limitless consciousness, but you give the name. That limitless consciousness gets a name with respect to the creation. It is not a separate entity. We tend to categorize, say this is this, this is this. This is consciousness, this is Ishvara. No. The same consciousness gets a name with respect to the creation. When you are looking at the consciousness as manifesting the whole world, you will say Ishvara. When you are looking at consciousness without the world, you will say consciousness. Therefore, what is only one. The way you look at it is twofold. Either as Ishvara or as consciousness. But Ishvara does not eliminate consciousness. You know, some books will put it like that. Consciousness, Maya is equal to Ishvara. Ishvara minus Maya is equal to consciousness. They think they're trying to make it mathematical. Idiotism. It's idiotic. You can add only two things of the same reality. Can you say I and my shadow? Tell my wife, please make breakfast for two people. Why? Who's the two? Who's the second person you call for breakfast? I and the guy I saw in the mirror. You can't add two things unless they are the same reality. Consciousness and Maya are not the same reality. Maya is apparent, consciousness is real. Maya is bhaditam, consciousness is abhaditam. Maya can be negated, consciousness cannot be. Therefore, there is one consciousness, gains the name Ishvara with respect to the creation. Gains the name consciousness as it is. Therefore, Parabrahman, Saguna Brahman, Brahman Ishvara, Brahman Jagat Karanam. So, all these words doesn't indicate separate entities, it indicates separate viewpoints, depending upon what you want to present. Therefore, Ati Ujjvalam, Mrityuhinam, Mrityuhina meaning free from death. Free from death means free from any change, any time. The hold of time you are free from. Time is nothing but a product of your own consciousness. We have seen that before. What is time? Now, what is time is a philosophical question, except on the streets of Bombay, okay? I was walking with an American friend and someone came and asked me in English, what is time? So I said, 4 baj gaya in Hindi, 4 o'clock. Okay, he went away. And my American friend is asking, you Indians are so philosophical that on the street a stranger came and come and ask you, what is time? I said, that is not a philosophical question, that is poor English. He swallowed up the. Only poor English, nothing else. But what is this thing that we call time? Okay. From times immemorial, we have recognized one thing. Time is a gap between two events. Scientific definition. We recognize this even before science came into existence. Because they knew sunrise, sunset, two events. Agrarian society. So it's okay, sunrise and sunset is good enough. Then when you needed finer and finer measurements of time, you started dividing that time between events. You start calling it midday. Why? The sun is right up. Therefore, morning and afternoon. Then you needed finer this thing. So you made it into yamam, 3 hours. 1 yama is 3 hours. Then you made it, you need further. Muhurtam, almost 1 hour, roughly. Not exactly, but not. So, like this we started dividing. Finally, when you wanted scientifically precise measurements, you said the pulses between two chords is time. 2 pulses of a chords. But the 2 pulses doesn't exist without my observation. Therefore, the 2 pulses becomes 2 observations. 2 observations are nothing but 2 thoughts. Therefore, the gap between 2 thoughts is what I call time. And between 2 thoughts, what is there? I am there. So when you look at me through these thoughts, you are getting this entity called time. In a nutshell, okay? In a nutshell. So mrityuhinam. So how can that time affect me consciousness? It cannot even affect your mind. Do you age mentally? Your brain can age. Your body can age. Your brain can age. But mentally you don't age. You become mature or immature. And that is not age dependent. That's not age dependent. Yeah. Or you may get tired. I lived so long, now I am tired. That's again different. That's a fatigued mind. And the same mind will leave this body and take another body, baby. Start behaving like a baby also. That shows the pliability of that mind. Is not affected by time. Then how do you expect the consciousness that's the basis of the mind to be affected by time? I am the truth of time. Mrityuhinam. I have neither death nor birth. Not I will become free from birth or death. As I obtain, I am free from birth and death. Dying, I can say I am not dying. Because are we not dying every day? Are we not rushing to the grave? Every day. Yeah. Every day we are rushing to the grave, isn't it? One day gone, one day gone, one day gone. If you are a yogi, you will have to be even more careful. Because your age is measured in terms of number of breaths you take. So every breath you take, oh, one breath gone, another breath gone, oh, third breath gone. You will have no time but to count your breaths only. Let it happen when it has to happen. Body will fall. I am free from it. Mrityuhinam. Even without Vedanta, one needs to have this attitude. You know what? Hey, birth was a great adventure. No? You came with nothing and you found everything was provided for. Now what is there on the other side? Let me see. That adventurous attitude. No? Let me see what is there on the other side. Dekha jayega. It will be interesting to see what is there on the other side. Yeah. Let me see with all the stories they tell are true or not. Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Is there anything like that? Is there afterlife? Depending upon your religious beliefs. Maja aayega, dekhega. Let me see what is there. What is the reality of that? That's one way to live. If you don't have the knowledge. If you have the knowledge, no problem. Mrityuhinam. That Brahman is nothing but myself. That Brahman which is free from all this description of Brahman is my description. I consciousness is like that. Not I this body. That neti we have seen. Not I this mind. Not I this energy systems. Not I my knowledge. Not I my ignorance. All that is drishyam. But that sadadrik, that drik which is free from the whole thing, that consciousness is me. Tadeva Brahma. Tad Brahma Nityam Tadeva Ahamasmi. That Nityam Brahma is nothing but myself. With this understanding, you're free. Yeah. With this understanding, you're free. Arey, what do you expect? Yeah. Yeah. Then I have 3 more verses. Good. 3 more verses. Okay. One is important, the other 2 are simple. Any other questions you have also, all that we will see in the evening class. Okay. Any question also shoot. Think over all that we have done. And that we are having a small break now. At 11:30, Swami will come and take her session about it. So, for the time being, I will leave you all.